what do you think is the biggest obstacle for Muslims in the filmmaking world? Is it our lack of business perspective, distribution power of it, or maybe the lack of, are there not enough Muslims wanting to be in the media, a lack of skilled artists? What should be the next step for us?
I think like any industry or any field of work, a lot of what makes someone successful is experience. So if we have Muslims who live in the West, they enter the business of filmmaking, distribution, production, all of the different aspects of how to make film and content and how to distribute it. Then once they have those skills and abilities, like what everybody does, is then they go and set up their own business. And once they have their own business, they'll be more favorable to someone who does make film that wants to, someone who is a Muslim filmmaker who wants to make a film. They will tell them, look, maybe if you add these elements to your film or make it more commercially viable, then we can distribute it. So we can buy it off you once you decide to make it, or you do make it, or we'll sponsor you or whatever. So I think it's a matter of, again, our communities and our parents and us individuals having that courage, having that fortitude to go forward, to be active, to participate, to work in, and to produce, and to not be afraid of failure, because eventually we'll succeed. Impossible for you not to succeed if you keep attempting something and you learn how to do it from someone who knows how to do it. So I don't see like there is a major issue blocking us because we're Muslim. I think the only thing is the will. So once the will is there, as an individual, and then as a community, as a family unit, and then the community at large not looking down on someone who wants to do that, going to film and film production and film distribution. It's just a matter of, because the more people go into this field, the more eventually you have who are going to be very talented. Because you might have had an amazingly great, talented filmmaker, but because of pressure from himself and his parents, he decided to go and become a dentist or a doctor or an engineer. But he could have been like the most amazing film distributor or the most amazing film scriptwriter or the most amazing, I have a friend, he's writing a story, amazing Muslim story, but he happens to be a doctor as well. But he loves art. So, he was helping another friend with poetry. And he's a very intelligent guy. And he wants to write this book. And he goes, I want to write in a way where a non-Muslim will pick it up and be drawn into this book and learn about, the story of this great Muslim personality and so forth and so on. So yeah, he's a doctor. He's a qualified doctor. He does that, but he's also doing this. So we don't know, out of the number of millions of Muslims who live in the West, how many of them are gifted within. And all it needs is a bit of nurturing, a bit of practice and experience where it will come out. Some people like myself, I have to struggle hard and make effort into writing a script and, holding the camera and directing. Eventually comes to a point where I've learned it to the extent where I can do it, and then someone else sees it, says, oh man. Yeah. I said, look, you probably learn this in a year if you do it like I did. It took me longer because I have to struggle hard. So some people just have it naturally. Some people have to work hard at it. But eventually, if more people go into it, why is it some of the greatest doctors in the world are Muslim? Why is it that some of the greatest engineers are Muslim? Some of the greatest, mathematicians and this and that. Because it just, mathematically, it's impossible for a large group of people to not have any ability in a specific field. It just doesn't make sense. There's no reason for it to be like that. So I think it's just a matter of encouraging, and I think, inshallah, the young people of our generation who are trying to make stuff will encourage the next generation to say, look, mom, dad, this person did it, and look, he's a good Muslim. He isn't, he's not going and living a wild life and doing stuff which is haram, and he's feeding his family and he's looking after his family. I want to go and do that. And his parents would be like, okay, maybe it wouldn't be the first thing we choose for you, but we don't have an objection if this is what you want to do. Go for it. And maybe it comes to a point where they say, yeah, no, we're proud of you if you can go and do this. If you go on one day and pick up an Oscar or an award and you say, you know, I want to thank my parents and I want to thank Allah, instead of saying God, you say Allah, and maybe a lot of people are like, whoa, he said Allah, what's he going to do? Is he going to explode, or is he just going to, no, I just want to say, you know, thank God. God, Allah is God, that's it, there's no difference. So I think it's just, again, a matter of our youth being more active in there and experiencing and learning from different companies that already do what they do, and then adapting it for themselves and starting their own businesses. And eventually that will pay off. It's going to take time. Don't forget, I think we could say that Muslim, in a strong way, have only been active, living and you know, kind of thriving in the West in the last 20 years. Before that, they were Muslims, but they were just trying to survive. It's only in the last 10, 15 years that we've become advocates in politics. We've been active in, you know, policy making within town halls and communities.
Yeah.
And there's a few members of American, I don't know if it's Senate or Congress, what do you call it, but are Muslims, you know? So it takes time. So I honestly feel in the future, I see positivity. Only if we, as a group of people who are citizens of the countries that we have adopted and we live in, and it's our home now, is decide to be active. That's the only decision is within. Once you start within, the rest of it will fall into place with practice.
Inshallah, yeah.
Inshallah.
So, manpower on both ends, the business, the creative side, this family support structure.
Definitely
Okay.
Definitely need the business side, because you have to make what we produce viable, right? It has to be commercially viable, so that you use the money to make more and more and more, and it encourages other people to come in to try and make a living out of it. And there's no harm. It's not haram to you know, make financial gain from films that you make. It doesn't have to be just, you know, promoting a specific ideology, and that's what it was, and it's fi sabilillah, and if you don't make any money, it doesn't matter, God will reward you. No, if you make it good and you make money out of it, that's the whole point, and then you can keep doing it, and it becomes a business, and it becomes self-sustaining.